Okay, continue. Right then, hello and welcome to Valto's latest webinar, How to Streamline Your Onboarding Process with Microsoft 365. Thanks to everyone who's attending. We'll just do some quick introductions. I'm Ben Coleman, I'm Head of Sales. Dougie will introduce himself in a minute. Just a quick overview about Valto before we dig straight into the content. So Valto are a Microsoft multi-award, Microsoft Gold partner. We've been in this game for many years as a group of individuals and also in business for nearly 5 years now. And yeah, we're split into two rough areas: Microsoft 365 on the one side and the development team on the other side. It's the development side of things that we're mainly focusing on today, and that's where our SharePoint piece falls in. So yeah, we'll press on straight away. Please, by all means, ask any questions and pop them through the chat, and Dougie will pick those up and we'll handle those towards the end. Dougie, if you just want to quickly introduce yourself and say hello and then take us forward, that'd be great.
Thanks, Ben. So hi, my name's Dougie. I'm the head of consultancy at Valto. So that basically means that I'm responsible for delivering all the kind of projects and from that side of things. Today, we're going to be talking about the onboarding system, which is one of the Valto products, which is becoming very popular at the moment. Could you just flick to the next slide for me, please, Ben? Thank you. So the first thing is, what are the challenges of onboarding? So number one, capturing a new employee's information. It can be very time consuming to actually get information together about your new employee, and often there's multiple different forms which all need to be completed, and remembering to actually complete them. Our system, we're going to be showing you, actually consolidates all of that into one employee database. The second thing is ensuring all tasks have been completed. So whether that is, say, for example, giving them a new laptop, access to certain things, adding them into payroll, whatever it is, remembering to actually do and complete those tasks in time for them starting. I'm sure we've all been in organizations before where we've seen new starters turning up and they don't even have a laptop or a place to sit in the office. We're going to be talking as well about reducing the amount of man hours required. So quite often the same efforts which go into every new starter each time, and there's things that we can do like providing video recordings and things like that, where people can go and watch that content. So rather than, say, for example, a head of department having to sit down with every single new starter to explain what that department does, they could just record a short video and provide them a link to that so they can watch that to save that time. Also having a system that can scale quickly. So you might be a small organization at the moment, say 10, 20 people, but would your same onboarding process cope if you were to then all of a sudden upscale and you took on 100, 200 people within a short period of time? With this system, it is scalable. It's something that you will be able to grow with you. And also retaining new starters once they've accepted the job. So something that we see quite commonly is that people will accept the job, and as an employer, you often think, well, that's the box ticked. They're going to join us, they're going to be with us in a month's time, and you kind of forget about them. In that period of time, they could be given counter offers, they could find something else, they could back out from it. So you want to keep that momentum going when they're joining your business and keeping them interested. So what we're going to be talking to you today about is our system, our onboarding, offboarding system, which is designed to basically remove all of those challenges and streamline things. Next slide, please. So this system is broken out into 4 key pillars of modules of functionality. The first one being around pre-onboarding, which is an area that the new starter can actually access before they're even a member of your organization. It's leveraging SharePoint external extranet features, which means you can provide a platform to allow the new starter to learn a bit more about your business before they join, provide some useful information to know about their first day, maybe be giving them a bit of a nudge about the sort of information you want them to be providing you before they join. And also, it's keeping that momentum going for that onboarding process to make sure you're retaining them all the way through. So that might be that you're wanting to sort of show them what sort of social events you've got coming up and things like that, or reminding them about company benefits. The next module is about onboarding. So now they're actually inside of the system and we're welcome to the business. It's a platform where you can give them policies, procedures, extra company information, a bit more information maybe about senior management and what the businesses do, and recommendations for ways of working. So maybe a list of places or websites that they would find beneficial for their new role. The next module is around the department. So department specific information about the department and meeting the team. So when you're joining this new role, you want to know a bit more about that particular department that you're joining. This is the place that you can go to. And then finally, we have the tasks management element of this, which is all about controlling the tasks for both onboarding and offboarding as well. So say, for example, as a new starter, you might want them to provide you a P60 or P45 from their last job role, some photo ID, as well as confirming that they've actually read some of your key policies. Also, there are tasks as well that go to the employer, the existing sort of colleagues. So things like issuing hardware, adding them to payroll, and doing all those bits that you need to do to actually move them forward. So that's a bit of an overview. What we're going to now do is jump into each one of those modules and give you a demonstration of how this works. So back to you, Ben.
Lovely, thanks, Dougie. So first of all, pre-onboarding. So instead of continue with the PowerPoint, we'll have a look straight at the actual system itself. First of all, looking at the main page here. So I suppose the first point to make is, just before we move into that pre-onboarding piece, is that this solution works best as a part of a wider, more expansive intranet that is used for all sorts of information for existing staff, and of course for those new starters as well. So before an employee is onboarded, first of all, just a quick point about keeping their details and being able to store all of the employee details in one place. SharePoint allows you to do that and gives you the control to make sure that only the right people can access that information. So that information that Dougie was just talking about, things like P60s, maybe bank details, passport details, those sorts of things. Obviously, you don't want everyone to be able to access that information. It's only for specific people. And so SharePoint allows you that capability to be able to really limit the people that can access it only to those people who are supposed to have access. So it's a really straightforward way of adding new employee details. You can just rattle through and enter the details in a really straightforward way, really easy to use. So that's the employee details. And then just having a quick look at, again, just before a new starter has joined. So we're imagining a person called Joe Bloggs here. Joe Bloggs has just completed his interviews. He's been offered a job. Maybe he's working his notice period at his existing employer. So he's got about a month to go before he joins. What this simple list can do is enable your existing staff to make sure that all of the things are done ready for Joe Bloggs' first day, so that you don't end up with egg on your face thinking, oh no, we haven't sorted out his laptop, or he's not got his email address set up, or things like that. So you can see all of these tasks just get pushed out and notifications sent to the right person to make sure that Joe's got his laptop on the first day, that he's set up on Teams, and that he's added to payroll and those good things. So just a really nice way of bringing those tasks together and making sure that new staff member after new staff member just gets a consistent experience when they join your organisation. Then moving on from there, the pre-onboarding section that we were just talking about. So this I love. I joined Valto in April last year, and it blew my mind. For a relatively small organisation in comparison to other organisations that I worked for, the pre-onboarding and onboarding process was really remarkable and gave me a real sense of the organisation I was joining before I joined. So I was getting excited about the role, thinking about the things, the benefits and so on. So here's a few things that you can do with the pre-onboarding features. Now, bearing in mind, you've got a really easy way of editing, and just to note that working with Valto, we will help you, even people who aren't used to updating SharePoint and so on, will train you how to do that, and you'll find that it is really straightforward to do. So you're not dependent on technical staff to do this sort of thing. We'll get you all up to speed and familiar with it. And then what you can use is, say, for instance, maybe video content. A lot of our customers upload videos to what's called Microsoft Stream, which is like Microsoft's YouTube equivalent, corporate YouTube. And those videos can be linked to here so that your CEO, even if you're an organization with thousands of staff, can make a personal message to new starters to say, welcome, thanks for joining us, thanks for sharing the vision of our organization, and so on and so forth, and gives them an opportunity to really to do that. You can share things about the values of the organization, what work-life balance is going to be like. These are all ideas, of course, and you can tailor this to your specific requirements. But this is a section of pages that are sent through to the new the person who's going to be joining to their personal email address. So again, that's stressing the power of SharePoint and our ability to make sure that people can only access the information that they're supposed to. So just because it's an intranet doesn't mean that you can't provide access to people outside of the organization in a controlled way. They can find out about the benefits of the organization, maybe key people that they're going to be working with, health benefits, things about, you know, how you're working with your family life and that balance that we're dealing with. All of us, especially now we're working from home a lot more, that comes to bear a lot more. Learning and how we'll help you grow as an organization. These are all great things for just bathing the new starter in the ways and the processes and helping them, I suppose, be reassured that they've made the right decision to join the organisation. And then a little bit about how you're giving back to the world and your local communities and so on, and those sorts of things. So that's the pre-onboarding section. There's also, say, for instance, a little section you can provide. Bear in mind, all of this, because it's SharePoint Online, it's all built to be able to be nicely presented on a mobile phone as well. So just because we're looking at it on a computer screen here, bear in mind that the way it's built and designed enables you to view it really easily and simply on a mobile phone as well. So that new staff member, when they're preparing for the first day, wherever they are, they've got access to this information. And this page can be used to remind them about all of the various different things they need to do, maybe links to the actual forms they need to complete before the first day, all tidy in one nice place. And also in identification, things to bring with you on the first day, what to expect. So we'll give that a little refresh, see the map there, and then the map so that they know where to go to on their first day to get to the office, people to contact if they get lost or things like that. So it's all in one place, all really accessible to that new starter. So that is the pre-onboarding bit. Let's just have a look there. And Dougie, are there any other thoughts that you've got that we just want to pick up on pre-onboarding before we move on?
Just to sort of recap those notes there. So it's just about learning about the business, useful information to know for the first day, information that should be getting ready for building trust in your business and keeping the excitement going for that role. Also information about sort of what to expect on the first day, how to find us. Things like where to park is actually quite a common question for new people. Even things like where local restaurants, where to get lunch, things like that. And also the other really useful thing about this, not many people are aware of, is that SharePoint can also be used for external facing document storage, meaning that before people have even joined your organization, they can get access to SharePoint and upload sort of any information that you need from a copy of a CV or whatever that is. And there's no need to use third parties like Dropbox and WeTransfer to be able to do that. SharePoint can give you all of that same functionality out of the box. That's it.
Lovely, thanks, Dougie. Right then, moving on to onboarding. Please, just a little reminder. So if you've got any questions or comments, just pop them into the chat and we'll try to cover those at the end. So we'll have a look at the onboarding side of things now. So Joe Bloggs, remembering that imaginative name we've come up with. Joe Bloggs has eventually arrived on site on the first day, so you can provide Joe with access to this page, which helps them bring everything together. So I suppose just remember what what Valto advocate in when you're building a SharePoint intranet is that you're thinking from the perspective of a new starter anyway. So there are a couple of key things to really bear in mind. First of all, can they find what they're looking for? So what this page can do is key them straight in to the various different pieces of information that they need to be aware of, and we'll go through that in a minute. The other thing to really bear in mind is, does it look good? If it doesn't look good, their first impressions aren't going to be brilliant. So Valto can help with making sure that we're including that really fantastic content that your marketing departments have got, and also in like mixing that in with the various different features of SharePoint to give a really rich experience and lots of engaging content to keep people coming back to this to these pages. So Joe Blogs has just started, got access to this. You could link straight through. We'll come back to this bit in a bit, but you can link straight through to the tasks, and that's a quick route through to there. You've maybe got another message from the CEO. At Valto, we're real advocates of using video content and getting our customers used to producing video content and then using that to save time across your organization by not having to repeat the same, say for instance, training and so on and so forth, and also to enable you to get messages across to all of your staff. No better way than getting that content coming straight from the top of the organization. So encouraging the directors or whoever the heads of your business are to produce that content is a really great thing. Maybe a little bit about the story of the organisation to really help embed that that side of things. Then here are a few ideas. So you might have an onboarding buddy scheme, a buddy that oversees Joe as he's just started, just to make sure he knows what he's doing and has got everything that he needs. It might be that you do that already, but that buddy has got so much work to do that this can take some of the pressure off. So meet your buddy and find out more about that. Maybe you could put a link into the events of when your one-to-ones will be and so on and so forth. A link through to key groups that the new starter might want to be part of. So we've used an example of an employee resource group here, but you could have a number of different groups that they could link straight into. And then just embedding that that point about events and so on, and getting them plugged in to your organisation really early. Say for instance, events that are coming on. That are coming in the next few weeks or months and so on. Instead of them finding maybe three months in that there was an event a month ago that they'd have liked to been a part of, you can make sure that they're keyed into that straight away with that link. This section enables you to just, I often call this the boring stuff, but I shouldn't really. It's really important. So just making sure that you've got all of your things in place. Do you know the expenses policies and so on and so forth, and that side of things. And again, as we've mentioned before, this is all customizable, so you can tailor it to your organisation. Now, you heard me mention before, Valto are huge advocates of video content and training each other. And this is one of the ways in which we use Microsoft Stream, which links to SharePoint, and most Microsoft licenses have Stream included in what you need. So it's all ready to go. Just needs to be set up really. So what this section enables you to do is to link through to various different training videos and so on. Valto used this and we created the Valto Training Academy, which is a library of videos that we use. So instead of, I suppose, training content being lost, what we've done is we've built up a library of videos over the years of training on certain systems, applications that we use. Maybe it's a process that we follow within a certain part of our organisation. And when someone's being taught how to do that, we'll use the Teams record feature to actually record that training. And then it's there to refer back to, so that the trainer doesn't have to spend that time again training someone else next time someone needs training on it, if that makes sense. So instead of per hour, say for instance that someone needs to be trained on a certain application or process, that trainer is getting that time back. We still advocate that the trainer should keep involved, but say for instance where they'd have had to spend an hour with the new starter, maybe they only have to spend 10 minutes and just first of all check they've watched the video and say, have you got any questions? To do more of the human stuff around that training instead of it just being functional teaching and going through the motions. It's you know, checking in with that new starter to make sure they're happy with the content and they've understood it. So a really powerful feature. We've, as I said before, we've done that ourselves, and we've helped a number of our customers to deploy their own training academies as a part of a wider, what we call way of working, which incorporates the Microsoft functionality for the organisation. And then that's it for that page. And then I promised I'd pop back to this section, and we will do. So this is further in the actual onboarding section. We go through to a page where you can see who to reach out to if you get stuck. And then you've got the checklist. Now, this is a fantastic feature and really popular, especially with mentors, because where a mentor in the past, maybe that mentor might be part of the HR department, would have had a whole maybe Excel spreadsheet or a list in Microsoft Word or somewhere like that, where they've got to make sure that they've taken someone through all of the various different steps. That translates this into a list and gets your SharePoint intranet to do this for you. The list can be prepared for each individual part of your organization, for example, or you could just have one list that covers all, dependent on the size of your organization and so on. And then this can take the new starter through the various different things, and they can tick off these actions as complete when they've done that, all overseen by the mentor. So the mentor can see those tasks that the new starter has completed, and can assist them if they get in a muddle at some point. It can make sure that the new starter has covered and read and accepted IT policies, for example, the various different policy documents that might be part of your wider compliance requirements in your organisation. Just simple, I suppose, the softer things like just meeting the rest of the team and getting to know them. Using SharePoint, you can use the really useful functionality of Active Directory to display we can see Cameron there, the colleagues, what their details are, how to get in touch with them, who they report to, all of those different things you can see there. And then this can key into your wider onboarding process to make sure that, say, for instance, they get to the 3-month review, maybe a probation review process that you have. Instead of the mentor needing to keep a record themselves, they can simply go back to this and see whether all of these tasks have been completed by that new starter. Maybe Joe's a fastidious sort and has gone through them all, in which case it's a really simple process. Fantastic. If Joe hasn't completed them all, then there's an opportunity potentially for training or to ask the question as to why they've struggled to complete them. So I think that's all of the bits and bobs of the onboarding site. Over to Dougie just to take us through these, if that's all right, Dougie. And
yeah, sure. So just as a summary, the onboarding kind of module, it's all about welcoming the new starters to the business. You want to be able to split out the information that you're offering to the new starter in terms of the pre-onboarding information you're giving to them. And then once they've actually joined, you might want to give them a little bit more kind of insight into the business and what they should be doing as part of that role. It gives them access to sort of policies and company information, as well as any recommendations for ways of working or any sort of maybe websites or software that they should be taking a look at. Details of common kind of processes, such as how do I submit an expense request or a leave request, for example. All those typical things when you first get started, you might be thinking about how do I achieve that. You can provide pages or links to policy documents around them. Maybe you want to include a welcome message from the CEO or the managing director or the senior management team to sort of align people to the organization's objectives and mission. That's it. Thank you. Thanks.
Lovely. Thank you. Then I suppose just a quick note to say that we can also split this down into your key departments. Now, we've used the examples of sales and engineering here, but obviously we can build these out according to the requirements within your specific departments. So this really drills down into your organisation and gives specific information about the team that they're part of. So we can see, just a little bit of additional information here. It might be that the particular department has a particular site or so on, key team members within that department. And bearing in mind that Valto builds SharePoint solutions for massive organizations as well as much smaller ones, that ability to scale out this onboarding process to larger organizations is this is a key part to be able to drill into those sections. You can see who the key members of the team that you're going to be working with are, and then drill that down even into the subsections of that department. There are a couple of other bits here, so you can see, say for instance, in meet the team, you can see the leadership of the team, and again drill down into further people within that team and find out more about them by clicking on the links and so on. Dougie, I don't know if there are any other areas of this that would be good to have a look at, or?
It's pretty much just giving a summary there, isn't it, across the top of, of the department, and sort of generally about the people, the culture, and typically people want to know who they're going to be kind of working with. It's also an opportunity that you might want to sort of provide kind of events of kind of social events which are coming up, or even kind of key milestones for the department, what they're working towards, and that sort of thing. Good stuff.
Lovely, thanks, Dougie. Good. So that's the department section there. So as we've talked through, there's that side of things. I don't know if there's anything else to draw out there, or we could move on to the next section, do we?
Just to recap on kind of the department section, really is just to sort of highlight individual departments, what they do, what they're responsible for, things like that, who they are. So meeting the team, maybe some team bios, links into their Delve pages, or even maybe their LinkedIn pages. Information about the leadership, so who the sort of management are of that team. You can have org charts, which pulls information directly from Active Directory to show who the line managers are and what the reporting structure is, and also some information about how we work. So things like frequently asked questions are typically posted on there, about the department services, what do they offer. Again, events, maybe with they're not just social events, but also key milestones and things which are kind of coming up that the new starter should be aware of. General directional vision and priorities of the department and what they're looking to do, any cultural elements to sort of include, and then your typical kind of resources like useful links, documents, and sort of SharePoint pages which are relevant to that particular department.
Lovely, thanks, Dougie. Right then, and then a quick look at tasks. So tasks runs as a seam through the rock of this employee onboarding solution. So there are lots of different ways in which we can use this functionality to really improve the way in which we bring staff through. We've looked at a number of these already, but just to, I suppose, go through as a reminder. So we can use tasks here to for the new starter checklist. That's one way in which we've used that. So that was this element here. Also, if we have a little look in the onboarding section, then a different way of presenting those tasks. This tasks feature is here, and the beauty of this approach is that that people can receive notifications and reminders dependent on how you set it up. So this can be configured to your requirements, and then the people who are supposed to do the task can be notified along with mentors as well. So a few examples of the things that you can manage there are, say, for instance, asking a new starter to provide documentation, P60s, P45, really essential stuff for accounts department and so on. various different pieces of identification. Again, just going through those processes of making sure you've ticked every box when you're onboarding someone. And also those tasks, as we've talked through, making sure that the hardware and maybe mobile phones and whatever it is that the staff member needs to do their job are handled. And then also a really key part that we can also provide here is the offboarding side of things. We often speak to organisations that are working on ways of making sure that those offboarding tasks are carried out, that certain licenses are either cancelled or reallocated when a staff member has left the organisation, that the key information is sent through and a reminder as to the commitments that they've made in their contract in terms of leaving, say for instance, not contacting existing customers or those sorts of things, all put together into a straightforward process. Whistleblowing forms and links to those sorts of things, and also links to employee satisfaction form, just to give feedback as to how their employment had gone during their tenure. Anything more to add on the tasks side of things, Dougie, before we move on?
No, I think that's pretty much covered everything off there. It's just one of the questions. By the way, we're getting loads of really good questions coming into the Q&A already that I've been trying to respond to, but there's so many. One of the questions was around kind of reminders for the tasks. So just to highlight as well that the tasks do have reminders set to them. So if somebody wasn't doing their task, they will get emails or Teams message chasing them up to follow up with that as well.
Lovely. Lovely, thank you. Right then, so sounds like we've got a good number of questions, so we'll dig into those in a minute. Just before we go to that, just a message from our sponsor, as it were. So just to encourage you really to reach out to Valto if there's any of this that really strikes a chord and you'd like to set up a project to work through this. We have a number of different stages that we work through, from pre-engagement, where we're just talking about the art of the possible and where we can work with an organisation, whether we feel our skills are a good fit for yourselves, and also whether likewise you feel that Valto can assist. Then we'll go into consultation. That's a critical stage of any project when we're looking at deploying, especially an intranet or features on an intranet such as this. The planning and the consultancy phase. If you skimp on that part, you miss out later on down the project. So it's really important that that's a key part of what we provide. Then we go into the build phase, which is the deployment and configuration side of things, where we can be building the pages within your intranet and the various different features. The training side of things is a key part of, I suppose that linked in with the consultancy at the front end is a key part of why Valto have been awarded this little, I'll just show you this because it's quite wordy, and I always get the words in the wrong order. I call this the cherry on the top of Valto's Microsoft cake. So Valto have got the Microsoft Adoption and Change Management Advanced Specialization. What this means is that Valto have demonstrable evidence which Microsoft have seen that our customers actually go on to use this stuff. So the way that Valto actually go through those phases of consultation, deployment, configuration, training and support sees that our customers actually benefit from the technology. So that's a great reassurance for anyone thinking about working with Valto. And then finally, the support side of things, which I think we talk a little bit about here. So there are various different ways in which we can support you, either on a managed service approach or with tokens, as are described on this slide here. Marvelous. Anything more to add on that, Dougie, before we move on?
No, I think that's covered it well.
Marvelous. Right, we'll take some questions if that's okay. So Dougie, if you want to pick them, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So we'll just have a look through some of these. So the first one, which is asked on a lot of webinars, is it being recorded? Yes, the webinar is being recorded. We'll send out a link to everybody in an email afterwards, so you can rewatch this or send it on to your colleagues if they weren't able to join. I'd also try and promote as well our YouTube channel. So we put all of our webinars on there, but there's also a lot of really good how-to guides. So do check out our YouTube channel. So it's a question from Daniel. Can the task list be auto generated for a new employee? And if so, can this be based on a department role? Answer is yes. All the tasks which are generated for both the employer, being like the emails going to IT to ask to deploy a laptop, emails to finance asking them to go into payroll and things like that. They are all generated from a templated task list, which is based around department. So depending on what department you join, it will send the sort of tasks around that. Also, they have due dates based on when the employee is going to start. So if it's something that you have to have done, say, for example, a month in advance, then it will base on the starting date. Let's just have a look at the next question. So how do they log into this? Are you giving the new user their Microsoft 365 credentials before they start? So no. So when we're talking about the pre-onboarding site, what we're talking about is you can share this to their personal email address. So if they have their personal email address needs to be in some way affiliated to a Microsoft account. So if it's a live account or Outlook or something like that, if it's not, if it's something completely different, they can associate that to an account and it will guide them through that process. But basically the purpose of that is that it means that you don't have to fork out for an additional Microsoft 365 license before they've even joined your organization. You can share things with them without having to go down that route. Is it possible to create a volunteers portal for this to give external access to users? So again, yeah, this is all leveraging the external kind of SharePoint functionality, and we work with a lot of non-profits that use this type of functionality for sharing documents and information with people without having to purchase them an additional license. Let's just have a look, a couple more. Is there a limit to the amount of tasks that can be issued? No, there's no limit. Obviously, it just comes down to the actual employee, though. You don't want to overwhelm them with too many sort of tasks. So obviously, try and, if you can, do bunch things together to make it as streamlined as possible. Do we require any additional licenses? So it obviously depends what type of license you've got, but as long as you've got Microsoft licenses which cover the use of SharePoint for actually all this functionality we've been showing you today, and Power Automate that runs the workflows and those kind of tasks, then you'll be covered with all of that as well. How can we include video materials as part of the onboarding process? So again, this is something that we're promoting quite heavily at the moment. It's the use of Microsoft Stream, which, as Ben was sort of talking about earlier on, it's very much like an internal YouTube is the best way to kind of describe it. So that's really where you would have sort of video channels based on certain things, and then you can embed that into SharePoint so people can go there and watch videos. Like I said at the very beginning, it can save you a lot of time as well, because quite often with these kind of onboarding processes, you always have meetings with say like heads of departments or key members of staff, and they end up just kind of rinsing and repeating and telling the new starter the same thing they've told every single other new starter. So what you can do instead is you can build these stream channels, upload a video of that person, the head of department, giving a bit of an introduction for 30 minutes, and then you can make it one of the tasks set to the new starter that they go and watch that particular video. And in fact, actually, we internally have built our own kind of what we know as the Valto Academy, which is essentially a set of videos that we ask all of our new starters to go and watch, which covers all sorts of different areas of the business. They've got a good flavour about what the sort of services and the products and things like that we offer to our customers. There was also a question, I can't find it in that list then, but something along the lines of, can the system integrate with third-party systems as well? So again, this is a very common question that we get asked, which is basically about, typically people might have other HR systems that they're looking at, but the HR systems don't always sort of have everything you want to cover inside of it, especially the pre-onboarding and the sort of the task reminders elements of it. So we've worked with clients in the past using things like Dynamics 365 as their main HR kind of database, and then we've expanded that out using this system. But it could also integrate with other third-party systems like Bamboo HR, Breathe HR, or HR Cloud, all by using Power Automate to drive those kind of workflows. There's another question there around kind of policies, and do we have anything that manages policies for existing employees? So that might be a good idea, actually, Ben. Do you want to just sort of talk about our sort of policy management?
Yeah, just quickly. So yes, it's a good point. The tasks function that takes people through the new starter through the process of making sure that they've read all of the various different documents effectively works hand in hand with the control documents feature that we can provide as well. Really good to get your compliance colleagues to have a look at this capability. It enables you to bring all your documents together into one place. You can actually, using Active Directory, link people through to particular actions that they need to carry out, and then group libraries together. And then within there, excuse me, we'll just look at one of the libraries themselves. Dangers of a live demo. Just try that again. That's having a big thing, that is, isn't it? Let's see if we can go again. I might be having a problem with my internet connection.
Just whilst that's loading, another question's just come in from Leon to ask about, can we link this to Azure AD? So yes, by default, it's natively using Azure Active Directory by default. We have additional optional extra modules that can even do things like creating the user in Azure AD and then adding them into specific security groups, which can be really useful because that means you can automatically give them access into things like specific SharePoint sites in different areas, as well as dropping them in directly into Microsoft Teams as well. So organizations which are using Microsoft Teams quite heavily, it can really make things a lot more efficient. Rather than remembering to drop them into 5 different teams, based on the department that they're coming into, you could say, okay, well, they're joining the marketing team, so that means that we're going to give them access to these 5 set of teams automatically. So without having someone to manually need to go in and do that, you can do that as part of this onboarding system.
Marvelous. It's misbehaving, but I think we might be nearly there. No, it doesn't seem happy. Oh, there we go. Right, marvelous. So this is a library within the control documents section. You can build this out with folder structures and subfolders and so on. And then within this control document section, you can manage the various different documents that you're looking after. You can see who it was modified by, the date, and so on. I won't go through the full demonstration of this today, but you can see how it controls versions. There are review periods per document and so on that you can configure, reviewers, approvers, and so on, and then the team that it sends those documents out to. I know we've got a video on this on our YouTube channel, which you could have a look at and show us through, or reach out to us to have a look. This also links through, and this is one of the beauties of SharePoint, is that other things such as retention policies for the specific documents that you're dealing with and sensitivity of those documents. So just quickly on retention policies. So say, for instance, you've got a document that's within finance. It might be that you delete it after 7 years and you want someone to authorize that before it gets deleted. It can handle all of that and can be configured that way. Also, especially within a HR department for GDPR compliance and so on, it might be that you need to make sure that you delete all data that's no longer relevant after 4 months, for example, and so it can make sure that those sorts of things are taken care of as well. So say, for instance, a CV of someone that you didn't actually take on can be automatically deleted after 4 months. The sensitivity side of things can make sure that certain documents, say for instance, can never be sent outside of your organisation, and if someone did try to take it outside your organisation, it wouldn't be capable of being opened, because the first thing that the software would be looking for is that it's one of the people that's on the list of people who are authorised to be able to open it. So even if it was maybe a mistake accidentally sent to someone outside the organisation, or even sometimes within the organisation, or whether it was deliberate, either way, if the person isn't on the list of approved people who are allowed to view that document or spreadsheet or whatever it might be, it will actually not allow it to be opened up unless you're on that particular list. So really useful features there that can protect your organisation over and above the standard ways that you do that. So that's that. Dougie, thanks. Just a quick look as well, just thinking about it while you're getting the next question ready, Dougie. The policy tracker as well. So this can also tell you who's read and accepted the various different policy documents and who hasn't, and they will be getting a notification to tell them that they need to read and accept it, and reminders and so on. This is really useful, especially for auditing processes, which again you can provide access to an auditor for them to be able to see that you're managing your documents correctly and you've got a good process in place.
Cool. I think we've covered off a lot of the questions, similar kind of repeating questions to certain aspects. So I think we've covered off quite a lot of those questions. If there is any questions that we've not answered, guys, please feel free to get in touch with us at hello@valto.co.uk, and we'll be happy to answer any questions or even set up a private demonstration free of charge for you. So if this is of interest to you, we can schedule that and talk to you further about that. So I think that's all of the questions, actually. Anything else from you, Ben?
I don't think so. Thanks for everyone who's joined, and yeah, as Dougie has said, please reach out if any of this is of interest and you'd like to explore further. We'd be delighted to help.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks for joining, guys.
Thanks, everyone.